And I'd like to start with a joke. Two planets meet in space. One said, "Ooh, you look so ugly and worn out. What's happening with you?" The other one says, "I have Homo sapiens." "Oh, you got it over no time," says the other one. It's a joke, of course, and we people, we like to remain to this planet Earth quite long time. But reality is that we are really exceeded the limits. My institute has come up in 2 years ago or 3 years ago with the concept of the planetary boundaries. I hope you know that concept. If not, then Google a bit and then you find it out. So it says that in 9 sectors we have in three sectors exceeded the global limits of the planet. Footprint assessments, footprint.org assesses those yearly, says that with our 7 billion inhabitants in the planet Earth, we have using today already 1.4, 1.5 planets full of resources. We cannot continue like that. And in the Nordic hemisphere here, we consume 2 point something planets already. So we have to be serious when we talk about sustainable future. I would not emphasize so much the word growth because the future is for no growth, in my opinion. Today we talk a lot the low carbon economy. We used to talk about radical resource efficiency when we taught somehow the economy and sustainable development. Then we talked about sustainable consumption and production as a concept. In those both concepts, we failed to explain, first of all, to the people, second, first of all, to the businesses, what it is for and how to go for it. So today we talk about low carbon economy or green economy. It's because of the attaching the issue of development of the economy to the most urgent problems with the society, the climate change, the increasing the temperature, increasing the CO2 emission, content of the atmosphere, and secondly, we are linking it with the jobs creation, as that's very close to the hearts of the people and people's mind. So we are talking about green economy, creating new jobs while going to the low carbon future. If we look at the EU greenhouse gas emissions, then we see a nice trend since 1990. We are down with the greenhouse gas emissions. The dots or lines are not going to the zero. The starting point is 3.5 billion tons, so don't mess up of the picture. But the picture shows that the EU 15, the old EU members, the tempo with the is a bit slower than the new member states, which is the good trend. And then also, if we look at the potential to go down is a bit bigger in the new member states. It means the eastern and southern coast of the Baltic, if we come back to the Baltic Sea region. So the potential is higher to go down with the carbon emissions. If we look at those who are in track going down with emissions and those who not, then we are lucky to see that in the bottom where there is a growth in emissions, there is no one country from the Baltic Sea region, which is a very good sign. So as general, the Baltic Sea countries are in track on achieving the goals we have agreed, put on a paper. If we talk about low carbon economy, then definitely decoupling is one of the one of the indicator, decoupling of the carbon emissions from the GDP growth. And here we see that the Latvia is particularly good, and Poland, not bad at all. So the countries, Estonia, Lithuania, their economic growth has brought in also the slight increase in emissions. But overall, the Baltic Sea countries are in the group of the good guys. From general to the detailed, as I'm Estonian, I would like to bring some information on Estonia just to explain the points I try to reflect here, and I'm bringing in some knowledge we gathered doing the study on low carbon opportunities for the low carbon economy in Estonia up to 2015. The work was ordered by the Ministry of Environment and done recently. We looked for the sectoral scenarios from 2 to 6 of each sector, 6 scenarios for the energy sector, 2 scenarios for the waste sector, and the other sectors were between 2 and 6, and then 3 cross-sectoral scenarios. We used the LEAP model, which was developed by Stockholm Environment Institute, and WAMPS, which is IVL, Swedish, made of. In order to understand what are the opportunities for Estonia to go down with CO2 emissions, then we have to see where the emissions are born. And of course, Estonia perhaps is the very, very clear on that. The 88.6% of the CO2 emissions comes from the energy sector due to the basic primary energy resource, which is oil shale we are using. And then a second the biggest, if we look only the energy and fuels use, is the transport sector. If the power production and heat production is 80%, then transport is 12.4% of the overall emissions. So those 2 major sectors actually are key sectors tackling with the mitigation efforts. And the prognosis we did 3 cross-sectoral scenarios, where the business as usual actually contained, or we looked very much at what is happening today, what policy measures are used, on which magnitude they are used, looking also for the political debate that on which extent we could increase or to make them stronger or not. We looked also the agreed targets for the emission reduction, for the renewable stakeholder, etc., etc. So on that we built the business as usual scenario. You see very sudden drops in certain time periods. These are actually related to the deadlines for the implementation of the new industrial emissions directive requirements for the emission limits. And our power plants are under that directive and have to, some capacities, old oil shale-based capacities have to be just phased out, closed down. Therefore those drops are explained. And then there is a optimal and low carbon we looked really maximum efforts which one country can do, applying the policy measures in maximal extent. And the optimal scenario then was looking for the lowest cost for the public sector, for the state expenditure and the local government's expenditure, not much for the societal expenditure. And it came out that it's actually quite good potential. The good potential to go down with the maximum effort, we could go down to 87% of reduction of the CO2 emissions. And it's achievable in the opinion of the experts who did the work. And it's, of course, compared to the 1990 level. We know that the biggest reduction has already happened. We are down by 50% in 2010 and 12 as well, because restructuring of the economy since the collapse of the Soviet Union, 1991, all those times. So, but continuing with today's measures really shows a big difference here. We are talking about 15 million tons per annum of emissions, of going as usual or going with really meaning that we want to achieve those targets or the reductions we agreed or likely agreed or put on the paper only. I don't bother you with these pictures following here, which look at how reductions are or how the emissions are looking on the different sectors. The dark blue up is the power production. Then there is a waste. Yellow is the shale oil production, which is very much growing from today's. The companies operating in that field, they want to triple the production capacities of the shale oil. And yeah, the other sectors as well. The same with the optimal and the on the low carbon. Then actually, the picture says that on the power production we have to go almost 100% to the renewables. Only then we can achieve the maximum reduction of the carbon dioxide emissions. Yeah, if we talk about reducing carbon in the power industry, in the economy as such, then definitely EU emission trading scheme is a very important tool, but we all know that it has failed today because of the overallocation of the quotas to the industries. That's understandable, knowing how strong energy lobby is in countries in the EU level. And there are different, also in this picture, this picture is made by the point carbon, and there are those different political actions taken which have had impact to the carbon price in the past. But it still remains low, and for example, opt-out action has so far again failed. So carbon market prices are today a bit above the €5 per ton, and this is not very much encouraging if we look at the future for the reduction of the carbon emissions from the energy and the other industries, because this measure just simply does not work. And the prognosis is for the close future, at least from the industry side or industry observers of the market, are negative. Politicians, yes, they think that, oh, we do apply measures and we increase carbon price to 25 instead of today's 5, or the 40 or 45 euro per ton. But so far, there is no action following those statements or those prognoses. The message here is that when the all-European measures don't work, then you have to apply much more national measures in order to achieve the targets which have been agreed. And this is the short list of the most productive policy measures in our opinion, the low-hanging fruits for the carbon reduction, and that's the phasing out the harmful subsidies. Today, the subsidies from the government to the oil shale-based power production, energy production, is twice as big as subsidies to the renewables. And even worse, renewable subsidies are paid by the consumers from their pockets. The figure appears every month into the electricity bills, support to the renewables. But the support, which is twice high to the fossil fuel-based energy, is hidden. People don't feel it as acutely. It's paid through the state budget or hidden way, giving benefits, giving beneficial treatment on paying the emission fees or non-paying exemptions, etc., etc. So it's obvious that the people say that renewables are too expensive. We have to pay too much for those. But the reality is in Estonia, subsidies for the fossil fuel is, fossil energy is twice as big. Increase of oil shale resource use fees. Today, why the shale oil production business is booming and investments are, large investments are made in the new capacities for production of oil. That's the obvious, it's profitable. And state, who is owner of the resource, doesn't take sufficient price to cover the external costs of that activity. Oil shale industry provides today about 4% of the GDP, but same time generates 80–90% of emissions. So this is a very clear signal that something is wrong, and the industry is really harmful for the economy. If we talk about sustained economy or competitiveness of the economy, reshape the renewable subsidy scheme. That is exactly that when the subsidies to the fossil fuel economy are hidden, why then the renewable subsidies have to be very visible for the consumers. It could be vice versa, or there's at least the equal proportion. And then if the country's aim is to increase the renewables, then definitely this instrument has to be much stronger, and the subsidies to the fossil energy phased out. Investments support to the renewables, again, long time over the decades, support to the fossil fuel industry. Oil shale-based electricity production has generated or has yielded that there are oil shale capacities there which do operate 30–40 years from now on, and they always competitive in the market because the investments are made using the taxpayers' money. Renewables mostly is run by the private companies, this sector. And then, of course, one very important for the short term is to ensure that the European structural structural funds, rural development funds are in line, and the investment supports are sufficient to the energy and resource efficiency, plus the criteria for the allocation of the support should look for the energy efficiency, resource efficiency, and the carbon efficiency of the measures for the selection of the projects. For the eastern and southern shore of the Baltic Sea, European funds are a very important source for the really a restructuring of the economy and selecting the direction of the economy. If we look now, I did a very quick scan on the partnership agreements which are available in the internet of Estonia, Lithuania, Latvia, when there was agreed that at least 20% of the budget for 2014-2020 of the structural funds and also the cohesion fund goes for the climate mitigation and adaptation measures. Then figures from the partnership agreement say that Estonia 17.4, Lithuania 15.6, and Latvia 19.9. But I wonder if, for example, priority X in Latvian structural funds operational program or partnership agreement is that we increase more than double the volume of the passengers and goods in Riga airport, and increase the harbors, and increase to implement the large road repair program under the sustainable transport priority X. I really wonder how the hell this really contributes to the sustainability. Yes, I may agree that per passenger kilometer or tonnage kilometer of the shipping is more sustainable than the driving by car, the ton of people. Yes, I may buy that, but I never buy that flying around the world is more sustainable than moving differently. So you have to be careful. In Estonia, under the same heading, sustainable transport, 80% of that budget, of that chapter, went to the one major road construction project. Again, I doubt very much these figures, that they are really true and contributing to the climate mitigation, to the low carbon economy. So I'm not going to bring any example of Lithuania. I have to get safely home yet today. So, so beware of the climate washing, really. And like the Hydron said, from the different policy documents related to the Baltic Sea program, this is very much the issue. A couple more slides, if I may.
Yes.
Good. So definitely regional policy measures in the Baltic Sea region has to be done because the market is common, competition is tough between energy providers to the joint market, transport services providers, tough competition between the harbors on the transport the goods from the west to from the east to the west of the resources mostly, of course. So there are really measures which can only be done on the regional measures to really making equal playground and really making equal playground for the low carbon activities. And that's phasing out the environmental harmful subsidies which are existing in every country, no doubt on that. Adoption of the new energy taxes directive, which really takes into account the carbon content of the fuels. We know that this has been delayed and there is no agreement between the member states, and regretfully Estonia is among them who has not yet actually agreed with those proposals of the Commission, but this is necessary to achieve in order, if we are really serious, if we talk about future of the European economy as low carbon. So there is just some data on the energy intensity, just comparisons that we do have a very big disparities between the north-west coast of the Baltic and east-south coast of the Baltic, the countries there. And it means the potential lays, big potential lays of those countries whose energy intensity is low today. Sorry to say, Estonia is one of the lowest. And the same resource productivity. So this is the kind of whip to tell us that we have to be serious when we talk about the living within the limits of the one planet. So, thank you. Keep this one planet in your heads and minds. Thank you.